Good morning. Thank you for joining me for this presentation on Mathematics 3. My name is Mweneni, and here are my contact details. Kindly, if you have to contact me, do so between 6 and 8. Every day of the week is fine. Welcome to this module. This presentation will take a brief look at some common problems that were encountered by students during the assignment, especially the last assignment. And it highlights the issues to be expected in the examination paper. However, it is important to master all topics, all the units. You have to go through them, because we only picked some of the units and not cover them all, so the presentation is not that exhaustive. It's important that you study using your study guide and other recommended material. And I advise you to work through the examples in your study guide and practice with the learning activities provided, because this will help you to master the content. Practice makes perfect. So it's very important that you try to understand the problem before you start answering the question. Be it just an activity you are doing, be it an assignment, and this also gets you in that habit that you'll also be able to tackle the exam questions in the similar way. It's important to help you understand that you jot down all the pieces of information that you are given, and then you work out what is it that you are required to calculate. This will help you answer the question. So in this presentation and for the examination as well as for the assignment, there is another additional question that is different from all the others. You will be required to demonstrate whether you know how to teach the content of the subject you are doing. So with mathematics, you will also be required to demonstrate whether you know how to teach a certain topic in mathematics. So this is a new, and we'll discuss it further at the end of the presentation. Let's look at the Unit 1. So we picked a few units. The Unit 1 is on read, analyze, and interpret data. It's focusing on representing data on graphs. It's focusing on calculating and interpreting data, and also extracting information. So with these questions, some of the common mistakes to avoid include we have observed that students are expected to draw and interpret charts as part of their data handling skills. However, many find it difficult to find the numbers represented in a sector, especially that of a pie chart. Sometimes they give information that is not required, and here is one of the examples. You are given a pie chart, and this pie chart, you are being told you have the total number of people. It's 53,520. Now you are asked like, what is the conservative? So people look at the pie slice and they decide this is almost half, and they take the number 53,520 and they divide that by 2. Instead of taking a protractor and measuring the angle, they just estimate, and that the most given answer was 26,760. So they are not answering the question. So better use your protractor and measure the angle and give the portion of the pie chart that summarizes the results. Another common error with the charts is how the histograms are drawn. They are mostly drawn incorrectly. The width of the bars are usually correct, but the heights are usually incorrect because the frequency was calculated incorrectly. And another common error was to treat all classes as though they were of equal width when calculating the frequency, even though they are not the same. That is, you are dividing all the frequencies by the same number, which leads to an error, and your drawing will be wrong. Now we go to the other one that is most commonly asked is the mean, the mode, and the median. And in many cases, students, they confuse between the mean, they confuse the mode, and the median. And they had a difficulty working out the range correctly. Especially, they don't look like it's, they take the smallest and the largest value and they work out the difference. They only take out one of the two and they think that's the range. Let's look at an example of calculating this mean, mode, and the median. Let's say here we have a data set. This is our data set. We have this data set. I hope you can see it is 0, 3, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, and 15. Now you are asked with this data set to work out the mean. So the mean is the total number of your values divided by the number of values. So now here, if we have to count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 values in our data set, and if we add all of them together, they give us 61. And you divide that 61 by 9, you get a mean of 6.78. That is our mean. So the mean is basically an average. You total all the numbers and you divide by the number of your values, and that gives you the average. And if we go to the median is the number that is in the middle. So we have here 9 numbers. If we have to count, there are 9. On this side I have 4, and on this side I have 4. That's 8. And in the middle here I have 6, and that is our median. That is in the middle. And if we go to the mode is the one that is occurring there most frequently. The number that appears often, that is our mode. And if we look, no other number in our data set appears more than once except 3. So that means 3 is our mode. And if we have to work out the range, you always take the maximum and you subtract the minimum, and that gives you the range. And this is really, it's surprising that most people are not getting it right, when it's one of the, for me, I think it's one of the free marks that anyone can get to boost their marks. So now we look at our data set here. The minimum is 0, and the maximum, because it's already ordered in ascending in order, so the minimum is 0, the maximum is 15. So if we subtract 15 minus 0, then it gives us 15. That means our range is 15. And sometimes you'll be asked to arrange either in ascending order or in a descending order. And you should know also how to do that correctly. Now that is our example. Another problem that was encountered was finding the median of the data when there was an even number of values. So when the middle, you have, maybe let's say there were even numbers here, and this was your middle, 6 and 8. Let's say we have a number, another number here, I'll add 16. Now in the middle we have 6, 8. So either we say our median is 6 and 8, or sometimes they say there's no median, no mode. And students often give one of the two middle values as their answer, instead of calculating the mean of the middle two numbers. So you add the two, 6 plus 8, you divide it. So now in this case, because I have changed our data set, so now our mode in this case will be 6 plus 8, and you divide that by 2. 6 plus 8, then it's 14, divided by 2, then it will be 7. 7 will be our mode in this case. Now let's look at the common problems that were encountered with Unit 3, Unit 4, and Unit 5 that deals with fraction, percentages, and decimals, because these are different, but the common errors, they occur frequently, especially when the calculations involve fractions, involve percentages, and decimals. One of the common error was observed was when converting between fractions, between decimals and percentages. Students many times they confuse the tenth and the hundredth. Actually, the place values, they play a big role, and that they confuse between the place values when converting from fractions to decimals and vice versa. Let's say, for example, we have this example. You change 3 out of 50, 3 divided by 50, and you want to convert it to 6 out of 100. Because here we are doing this, all we need to do is we multiply by 2. And then it gives you 6 out of 100, and now you have to convert this to a decimal fraction. To convert this to a decimal fraction, we look at our zeros. Now we have our 6 here. There is 2 zeros, so is this 0 and another 0. But you will find, this is the correct answer, but you will find the people that are giving the answer as 0.6, which is wrong, because then they are leaving out the other 10. They are treating it as a tenth instead of 100. Now, other problems were encountered when carrying out the calculations with fractions without using a calculator. Students often fail to put their fractions into simplest form, and they lose a mark for accuracy. Let's say you have an answer that eventually leads you to 8 out of 10. And when you leave your answer in this format without simplifying it, you can simplify it to 4 out of 5. Then you know this is in the simplest format. Because if you leave it in this format, especially when they say simplify, then you need to simplify and leave your answer in the simplest form, so you don't lose that extra mark. If there is 3 marks, you only get 2, and you lose the other mark. And also another problem is an awareness of the sizes of the fraction, as they did not know which number to divide and multiply by to find a fraction of a number. So the awareness of numbers is very important. Another common mistake was that students did not have a clear understanding of how to add, how to subtract, and how to multiply and divide fractions. Let's look at this example. And the common mistake that is encountered by many students when they are doing their calculations. So let's say we have this fraction. Now you are asked to simplify this fraction here. This is the one that you are asked to simplify. So what you can do in order to add, subtract, multiply, and divide your fraction, firstly, we look at the order of operation. We use our board mass. So this is very, very important as we are tackling our fraction. Also, in any other calculation, we follow this order. But now, with this fraction that we are given, we have 3, 1 out of 3 minus, this is a mixed number. You can decide to work it out. So we say 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. Then it's 10 out of 3. The same here is 1 times 6 is 6 plus 1, plus 5, sorry, excuse me, plus 5, then is 11 out of 6. Now we have to find the lowest common denominator between the two. But now you will find that instead of working it out, you take one portion of the fraction and you work it out. People will end up they take the number 2 and they end up multiplying everything. So they end up multiplying 2 times 3, then they make it 6. 2 times 3 is a 6, and 2 times 1 then is a 6. Then they get a fraction like this, which is wrong. Though some of the methods are right, then they are not doing it correctly. These two, now we can use this method right here to sort out this fraction. Then we can say this is 20 over 6, and this is 22 over 12. Now we can still find the common denominator between the two and solve the problem, but you must leave it in the simplest form. Let's look at the percentages. Now, the main problem that was encountered in working out the percentages is the percentage increase. Many students found that calculating a percentage increase was a bit difficult, or they were not able to obtain all the marks. They were able to find the increased amount, but a common error was failed to add it onto the total. So once they work out that increase, they don't add it to the total so they can get that percentage increase. In some cases, they had to solve problems involving simple and compound interest. But then you are asked for a simple interest and they are using the formula of a compound interest, and vice versa. So they get the two types of interest confused. And it's also very important that you know the formulas of both the simple interest and the compound interest, and how to work out the percentage increase, especially in calculations that are involving finances, hire purchases, buying and selling, and so on, profit. Those ones, you need to know the formula to calculate these interests. Now let's look at Unit 6. 7 and 8, it deals with measures mostly. Students found that calculating a percentage, were problematic. Now these measures, the first thing was observe that students lost mark because they did not know the formula and could not answer the questions. Just to get a measure of a volume of an area of a surface area, and you don't know the formula and you are in an examination, that means you will lose those marks. You need to know the formulas. Sometimes they know the formula but they are using the wrong operation. Let's say, for example, you are asked to calculate the area of a triangle. Okay, it's given by a half times the base times the height. Now, instead of working this out correctly, now they don't know whether they should multiply or they should divide. So with these basic operations, you will find that they will make, instead of halving this, they will add, it will be like, they will add, like, is a 2 times the base times the height, and that is already will give them the wrong answer. Or sometimes they even end up adding is 2 plus the base plus the height, and then they end up getting the wrong answer. So you must be sure when you are substituting and when you are doing your calculations that you are doing the correct operations. In many cases, students, they give incorrect units in their answers. Just to know that meter is a distance of, is a unit of distance, but which distance? We can't use it for longer distances or for shorter distances, so we have to convert. You have to convert either to centimeter, millimeter, and so on if you are using a shorter distances. If it's a longer distances, you have to take note is kilometers and so on. And also sometimes they are given, you have to calculate the volume. Let's say you are given something like this, and you are asked to calculate the volume. Here is 2. Here is, let's say, 3, and you have to, or the area, and you have to calculate this using, let's say, centimeter and centimeter. Now, if it's length times breadth, and you say this is equal to 2 centimeter times 3 centimeter. You are calculating 2 times 3 is 6. Now you have centimeter times centimeter, then you know is a centimeter square, and it's not equal to centimeter. So they will end up, instead of putting this square, they just say it's 6 centimeter, which is actually wrong. The same with the cubic centimeter also for the volume. And conversion between units also pose some difficulties because some students, they forget to convert the answers to different units after completing their calculations. And this usually happens especially when they are calculating areas or volumes. You are given a volume in liters and you are asked to do it in cubic centimeter, and they forget to convert. Be careful of the units, because then your answer will not be correct without the correct units. Now, this is an additional one. In the past, we used to just test the content itself, but not the teaching methodology. But now, recently, we also added a question, just one question, a maximum of 20 marks that usually test on how to teach the content. So you be given a specific, like how to teach, let's say, the perimeter or the circumference or any other topic that is in your study guide. And you are given to demonstrate. If you see this question, it's only asking you to demonstrate how to teach, and that is just to give a general lesson plan, just to demonstrate that you know how to teach. And this one, when you answer it, you must indicate the topic that you are teaching. You must indicate the grade or the level that you are teaching, if it's grade 6 or grade 5 or any other grade. You must also indicate, if it's the perimeter, what is it that you want to achieve at the end of your lesson. You have to indicate your lesson objectives or the outcome. And you must also indicate your instructional strategy and the activities. This counts for most of the marks. The rest, the topic, the grade, the level, and the learning outcome is mostly 2 each. Then this one counts for the most of the marks, probably half of the question marks, because then you have to demonstrate how you are teaching and the activities you are using, the materials and the methods that you are using, and then the assessment. The assessment at the end, you can give a test, you can give a class activity, or is a homework, as long as there is some assessment component in your lesson or your content that you are teaching. And that's all that is needed. So when you see this type of questions, you don't need to panic. I think you are doing already teaching methodologies. Just give a generic lesson plan and just demonstrate simple methods how to teach. But it's very important to indicate your methodology, your activities, the teaching resources you are using, as well as your assessment. Be it the homework is an assessment, be it a class activity, be it the questions you are asking in the class, or you are giving a test. And to conclude, I would like to emphasize that you should make sure that you study the whole study guide. You cover the units. There are lesson objectives. Please try. One lesson objective is not asked now in the assignment, but you will find it in the other one. And because this presentation is not exhaustive, it is important. I have mentioned it in the beginning, and I would really like to emphasize that you practice each unit, because the examination tries to cover all units. It has to take a component from each and every unit, though it doesn't cover every objective, but each and every unit has to be covered. So to be on the safe side, you really need to cover. Take time. If you start with time, you'll be able to finish. Do as many exercises as possible. Practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more you will know, and the better your marks will be. Good luck. Thank you.